This is AI Jim Ross, and you're about to listen to Booking the Territory, the unprofessional wrestling podcast. This show is strictly for entertainment purposes only. Don't be a slapdick and get offended by anything on this show. And hey, slap nuts, if you do get offended, that's a you problem.
Hi, everybody. This is Jim Cornette, pro wrestling legend, and you're listening to the Booking the Territory unprofessional wrestling podcast.
This is the artist formerly known as Daryl Van Horn, James Mitchell, the Sinister Minister, and I'm here to let you know I would rather slam my cock in a car door than to miss the dulcet tones of Hard Body Harper, my illegitimate son, on Booking the Territory podcast.
Woo, Messi, this is professional wrestler Jimmy Van, the Boogie Woogie Man. Tell my people, my brothers and sisters, don't you dare miss Booking the Territory. Oh, yeah.
This is a one-man gang. You're listening to Booking the Territory Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to this week's episode of Booking the Territory, the unprofessional wrestling podcast, where today we are covering WCW Saturday Night on TBS from December the 12th, 1992. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel right now and hit the like button on the video. And lastly, type a comment or two with what you liked or didn't like about the episode. It definitely helps the channel grow. Those algorithms like that sort of thing, and it makes Harper very, very happy. Speaking of Harper, it is just Doc and I, because we got thrown a curveball late in the game where Harper has some wildcat business this week because there's a big show the week of us recording this where Kevin Nash is appearing. On that note, Doc, how are you?
I'm doing great. We're all a little tired and on edge here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We got a lot going on, brother. This won't make a lot of sense when it comes out, but we just had some big round of storms. 20% of the area doesn't have power. Roofs were ripped off. Everybody knows somebody who had some damage. And on top of that, and maybe more importantly, you and I are staying up late every night with these Mavericks and Stars as they try to make their way through the playoffs. So it's a great time and a scary time and a terrible time to be alive. But I'm doing good in spite of that. Looking forward to this. Now, Harper didn't submit his vacation request to BTT in a timely fashion, did he? I mean, if not, then he may be under the new discipline policy.
What policy is that, Chuck?
I don't know. You were telling me about the new page in the BTT handbook, and it's not the traditional like paper handbook. It's actually like a digital audio book that outlines our policies and procedures. So I don't know. Is that something we have now?
No, we don't have anything like that. However, speaking of Harper's absence, which did take me by surprise, less than 24 hours ago, I got a message from AI Bill Watts about Harper not being able to be here for this week's show, and I thought I should play it, but would you like to hear it, or are you tired of this AI stuff yet?
It worries me, but let's hear it.
All right. Well, let's hear what Bill Watts had to say about Harper not being able to make the show tonight.
This is AI Bill Watts, and I'm pissed off. What's this shit about Harper calling in and not being able to make it tonight? Did he say he can't make it because of Wildcat business? Wildcat, what's that, a fucking zoo? I've had enough of him mailing in these podcasts by not watching and making you guys do the heavy lifting. You tell that asshole he can chase Coyote Broad some other time. He needs to be here on time, every time and every week. I'm banning the Coyote going forward. No more cartoon horse shit. The Coyote is banned. You tell Harper that he is being fined $69,000 over no showing and stabbing coyotes on BTT time. He wants to criticize me banning the reptile, but he can't show up for another Outlaw Mud Show edition of BTT. Now these poor, pathetic listeners are stuck listening to you two slapnuts this week. What kind of Outlaw Mud Show podcasting is happening here? Oh, and one other thing. My son Eric has several promos on this show. I expect my son and his stellar performance on this episode to get the Toot Toot Award, and for this show to get an A+ rating, you fuckers. Now get to work, you stupid jackasses.
Wow.
Yeah, rather harsh, but
he told us.
I mean, he started off feeling sympathetic towards us, but then he was like, these horrible listeners were like, they gotta listen to now you two have to do the heavy lifting. I feel bad for these listeners. And then he went off on us at the end. That's just typical Bill Watts, right?
Sure, and let me point out another inconsistency. Once again, we know that Bill Watts likes to give the baby faces a pass on the fines, but the biggest baby face in the whole history of the industry is Hard Buddy Harper, and now he's getting fined a nasty amount of $69,000, which I'd find, excessive and naughty. I don't like it. I think we should file a protest. I think Harper should refuse to pay it.
What's that in the NFL when a player gets fined? What does the players union do? Appeal it?
Sure, we need an appeals process. We need a fair jury. God, can you imagine trying to defend a jury of Harper's peers?
No. God help us. It's a little tough, man. AI Bill Watts coming in hot, man. I tell you.
Well, and I will tell you this. That thing is way more realistic than our Jim Ross version. Dude, that sounds like Watts.
It's for everybody who hasn't heard this. I know I've said this on Patreon. I get requests all the time. Make a Buddy Landel, make a Tim Horner. It's not as easy as just plugging in some words and it doing it. It takes a lot of work and fine tuning to even get it close. And I do agree with you. The Watts one is ridiculously good. And
it is. Well, I wanted to mention something, and I didn't plan on this. I had no idea I was going to mention it, but you said something that stuck in my brain just now, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. I don't know if you've heard this or not, but on a recent Corny podcast, they were talking about, I guess it was, I don't know, something they did. I can't keep up. But they were talking about WWE, and they were talking about Logan Paul and his, natural ability, which we've talked about on this show as well. And Corny said something that really stuck in my brain, which was Logan Paul reminds him of the natural ability to get under people's skin of Buddy Landel. You just do it without even trying. And I thought that was interesting. What are your thoughts?
That's a strange comparison. I'd really want to hear the whole clip of what he said to fairly assess my
I think it
thoughts
was
on
just
that.
in the ability for Buddy to be a natural irritant.
Yeah, because obviously they're two different styles of wrestling.
Sure, and Buddy was a wrestler too. I mean, a worker. But just I can get under your skin without really seeming to have to try to do it.
Again, I haven't heard that clip, but I will say Buddy was really good on the mic and probably underrated by many. He was hilarious at times, but he was also a natural irritant. And although he got fired from Smoky Mountain Wrestling for doing what I'm about to say, when he was playing around with Tim Horner in that match and started singing Moon River in the middle of it, that kind of encapsulates Buddy's just, I don't give a damn and I'm going to do what I want, and not only pissed the fans off, but the promoter in that case was Jim Cornette and got himself fired. But I can see Buddy was a really good heel in Mid-South. I can kind of see that because when you watch Logan Paul on the mic, nothing phases him. I don't think anything phased Buddy either. So if that's the comparison, I could see that type of irritant. But because Buddy as a heel wasn't irritant because he wasn't big, he wasn't huge, he wasn't buff. He just was an irritating, heel. So yeah.
Now you have some shout outs. Is that true?
I do. Just a couple of quick shout outs before we get really rolling. First off, a big time shout out to Disrespectfully Classy, Marky Blassie, Mike Childry, Joe Ice, and good old Justin for their generous support on Patreon each and every month and being basically being the largest sponsors of this show. And then a handful of new patrons, Adam, Rusty, and Dan. Thanks for becoming BTT patrons in the last few weeks. You can be like them and get a shout out on air, and more importantly, access to over 400 plus Patreon exclusive shows of BTT at tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. And remember, when you sign up during our birthday month of June, which is right now, you'll get 2 months free when you sign up annually instead of going month to month. That offer also applies to current patrons who move to annually during the month of June that we are in. So yes, I had that. Now, Doc, I got something, but I'm trying to remember.
So I'll set this up for you. So you did something that we usually think is unthinkable for you. You ventured out of the home this weekend and pretty far away as you returned to the 504. And while we don't have him with us, you had a meal with Hardbody Harper while you were in town. And you said you have some stories to tell from that, because let's get it real clear for everybody. Harper doesn't turn it on when the red light comes on. A lot of times we have to stop him in the pre-show while we're just getting everything set up because he's already started. And we're like, whoa, hold it for the show. Harper doesn't make those distinctions. So I have no idea other than that you had a meal with him Saturday morning. That's all I know. But you said, hey, I need some time to talk about what happened. So please continue.
Okay, the first thing I need you to make a note of, I need you to write down in that electronic book or notepad, whatever you use for this show.
I don't use that anymore. I'm back to paper and pencil.
Okay, so you need to make this note, and I need you to ask him next week this question, because we got into this briefly. Harper doesn't like flip-flops. He hates them. He hates when he sees people wearing them. They get on his nerves. And I'll say this.
I like him at the beach, and I like him at the pool, and that's the only times I wear them.
Okay, for me, I don't care about people wearing flip-flops. Harper gets mad when he sees people wearing flip-flops.
I don't want to see your feet.
Me, I don't care. But we got into this topic, and I said to Harper, I've never been a flip-flop guy, and for me, the reason being is because what if I have to start running from something? And Harper goes, brah, you ain't lying. And he starts talking about stuff. So I didn't commit most of it to memory, but I need you to ask Harper next week why he doesn't wear flip-flops. So that's story number one. For me, I will get into it next week, hopefully when he's back. We went to eat at IHOP. It was breakfast, so it wasn't like we were going to get anything, I mean, I'm sure you can get something in New Orleans.
Y'all weren't going to have a dining experience with a steak with a cloth tablecloth and all that,
Right. I was tied up that evening, and so was he. So we met when we could, and so we go to IHOP, and there's a waitress not serving us, and I see her walk by, and I go, "Bruh, that's a coyote right there." And he goes, "Bruh, you ain't lying." He's loud as can be, but the whole restaurant can hear him. "That right there would get me in trouble. I don't want kibble, bitch. I eat rabbits." So anyway, we'll have to ask him about the coyote at IHOP.
Well, there's a good chance he doesn't remember saying that too. You do know that.
There's a very good chance. And
that's gone from his consciousness.
Last but not least, I have said on this show 1,000,000 times that Harper is a Facebook troll. He will purposely interject himself into the comment section of post, even on post on his own page, to start political wars, religious wars. He's just doing it just to be an irritant, a natural heel.
He doesn't give a single shit, and if he did, that's not the place he's going to talk about it.
Right. He gives a care. That's just not the place he wants to talk about it. So he will go and just post things just to rile people up. So we're having this conversation about, I don't know what. He goes, brah, I was on this Von Erich Facebook group.
Uh-oh.
and there was people there, and they were talking about Lance Von Erich and wondering how he is and what he's up to. And I was like, yeah, I said, he wrote a book about 4 years ago. I said, it was a pretty good book. Even Lance put it over, and Lance don't put over anything. He's like, brah, listen to what I did. I posted in the comments that Lance Von Erich opened and owned a Buc-ee's in Texas. Do you need to tell the people what Buc-ee's is, Doc, before I continue?
Buc-ee's is a whole cultural phenomenon that I don't understand, because at the end of the day, it's a gas station. Now, if you like Buc-ee's, you're going to go, no, it's not. No, it's not. But it's this big, huge gas station. Now, I'm going to give it to them for this. They got a whole bunch of shit you can buy in there. They've got branded shit, and their bathrooms are clean and nice. So they have that going for them. But it's a whole thing, and it's a big. Think about a Texas-sized convenience store on all the steroids you can imagine. But it's clean.
It's in a way, it's kind of like a Walmart of gas stations.
Yeah.
But because it's huge, but it's clean. It's very clean, and they got all kind of stuff. It's the worst thing for women when you're on the road.
When you have a wife and you have kids, they want to stop there because the bathroom's clean.
They want to stop there for more than the bathrooms, bro.
They got to get those Bucky bites and the beaver things and the whatever else. And I'm like, can we just get back in the car? We're losing time here.
It's me.
We're never going to get to our destination now. We might as well turn around and go home.
Well, so now that we've uncovered what Buc-ee's is, it's big, huge. I mean, huge.
Shit, I wished I was owning a Buc-ee's, man. That's probably some good money, right?
So he posted that Lance Von Erich opened a Buc-ee's in Texas, and a bunch of people start responding with, really? I didn't know that. Man, that's great. I had no clue. So Harper's responding, oh yeah, it's true. He opened the Buc-ee's. Then a bunch of more educated people start telling Harper, no, you're lying. He doesn't own a Buc-ee's. What are you talking about, you jabroni, you moron? And Harper says, no, I'm not. And he keeps trolling, going back and forth. So then this idiot goes online, finds a picture of Buc-ee's and posts it in the comments and goes, you see, this is the Buc-ee's that he owns. He just pulled a random picture of a Buc-ee's off the internet and puts it on there. And says this is the one he owns. And these people are losing their shit in the Facebook comments over Harper lying about Lance Von Erich running and owning a Buc-ee's.
Why do people need to correct somebody online?
He got a rise out of him, worked him into a lather, and then just left. And let him continue
That's the most
to go.
on-brand thing I've heard yet.
It was great.
Did I tell you my Lance Von Erich story recently?
No.
So I told you we had some. I'm trying to think about how to say this the right way.
Oh boy.
So we got some families that we hang out with because of the wife, the moms, the kids are friends, all our school age kids. And then the moms hang out, and then the dads we're cool. I mean, we're all cool with each other, but it's not like the dads are like shotgunning beers together, but the wives are all hanging out, right? And I was hanging out with a couple, and we were at somewhere, and they were talking about our podcast. And I was like, oh, Lord. And anyway, they were asking about the Von Erich movie. And she said she met one of the Von Erichs when she was a kid, and it was a big deal. And I was like, that's cool. That's cool. And she goes, yeah, I got a picture. I was like, let me see that. I'll tell you which one it was. And it was Lance. And I was like, dude, this ain't a real Von Erich. And she goes, yeah, it is. I'm like, then I had to explain how he was a Von Erich, but not a real Von Erich. And man, it was like I kicked her dog. She was like, I didn't get picked up by and I was like, first of all, your dad should be somebody should call CPS for letting a wrestler pick you up when you were that little. But that's a different story. But yeah, she got Lance Von Erich.
That's a conversation.
He took time out of running his Buc-ee's to pick up that little girl.
I was answering questions about the movie on Friday night with a bunch of my cousins and friends because they, they're asking me about it. I'm like,
I got asked last week too. Is it worth seeing? And I was like, yeah.
Well, no, they saw it. Most of them saw it, and I'm like, hold on, that never happened like that. It happened, but not, and then you feel dumb because you're like, do I really need to get to this granular level of detail? Because almost all of them were like, oh no, we really liked it. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Never mind. I don't want to describe it to you.
That's what I did. I said, how much do you know about the real story? And they're like, well, that they were wrestlers and big. And I'm like, watch it. You'll have a great time. I didn't enjoy it you'll enjoy it more than I did because I know more about what was wrong. But since you don't know that, don't worry about it. Just take it like it's all real and you'll have a good time. And they're like, okay.
Pretty much. Hey.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into December 12th, 1992, got one more message. This one's from AI Jim Ross about Hardbody Harper's new offer to all of our listeners. So,
so we have decided to let Harper have another try, another go at listener questions. So let's hear what Jim Ross has to say.
Harper's crying broke after AI Bill Watts fined him $69,000 and banned the Coyote. And we keep hearing that you all want Harper to answer questions on the main show. Harper is ready to take your questions. Grab a pen and paper because here comes some directions. If you want your question or questions answered, first send Harper $5 per question to his PayPal at cc30388cc@yahoo.com. After you send Harper that sweet, sweet cheddar, email your question or questions to Chris Harper, 16wildcat @gmail.com. That's Wildcat with a K, and BookingTheTerritory @gmail.com. Also, make sure you state in your email what your name is and what your PayPal address is that you sent the money from. Remember, one question per $5. Kids, get your parents' permission before sending your cheddar and emailing your questions. Lastly, if you missed the PayPal or email addresses, check the show notes and description for the details.
All right, so we'll try that again. By the way, Doc, I found the file with that first unreleased episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's worse than I remember.
I remember, like, what are you doing? Wait, what? And just like it sticks out in my mind almost more than any other show we've done because of the hostility that it caused in him and how he didn't understand the premise and really just fumbled it from the get-go. He's like the quarterback. He never got the snap, folks. He just never got the snap.
He was brutal. Brutal. All right. Well, on that particular note, Doc, are you ready for some Saturday Night on TBS this week?
I'm always ready for that.
All right. Well, we'll get into it. Again, this is December 12th of 1992 as we creep closer to Starrcade. Let me make sure I'm sharing my video. Hold on first. Let's do that. That way, you won't be fussing at me for anything. Let me know when you can see it.
Okay. I cannot see it. Now I can see it. Hi, Barry.
There you go. So I believe this week's episode, because it's not clear on the history of WWE.com, was taped November 30th, 1992 at Center Stage. At the beginning of the show, we get a voiceover intro of what we should be seeing tonight. We go to Center Stage with Larry Zbyszko and JR on commentary. They talk about Starrcade coming up in a few weeks. And one of the main matches is the King of Cable match. And then they welcome in Sting for an interview. Doc, before I throw it to you to ask if you got anything from this intro, and before we listen to what Sting's got to say, anything from you?
Just good to see Larry back on color and get some continuity in the booth. Other than that, let's hit it.
He's really got these nice looking shirts and ties, don't you think?
Boy, it is a disgusting palette of vomit that he's wearing, but I don't think that makes him unique. I think this is what most wrestlers would have thrown together back then.
Well, I also feel like it's the 90s.
Early 90s, too.
Early 90s. That's why you're seeing that. All right, let's go to Sting with Jim Ross and Larry Zbyszko. Here it is.
This Battle Bowl Championship on Monday, December 28th, but Sting, you're up. in the finals for the King of Cable with Big Van Vader.
That's right, Rossi. It's double time for me on one of the biggest wrestling events a World Championship Wrestling has to show for, and that's Starrcade in the Omni. First, it's Battle Bowl, the Lethal Lottery. I get to draw a name, and whatever name I draw, that is going to be my partner, and we got to work together as a team if we want to make it to Battle Bowl. And last but not least, double time it is. It's going to be King of Cable, you, Van Vader. I haven't forgotten about the pain that you inflicted on me, and I haven't forgotten about the pain you've inflicted on so many others. You've ruined a lot of wrestling careers, my friend. It's double time for me, and if you haven't figured it out by now, Vader, I'm at my best when I'm on overtime. Figure it out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Sting are obviously ready for December the 28th in the Omni, Starrcade 92. We're ready for a great broadcast. Let's go up to Tony Gill.
I tried to figure out what Larry's got on his tie, but it's just some type of paisley palette of something. I have no clue. Harper would be trying to figure it out if he was here, but yeah, I have no idea. I thought Sting was pretty good there. It was short. It was about a minute long, and I think the shorter you let Sting go, sometimes the better.
I would agree. I thought he was fine there. He was more. I find him to be better when he's more serious and doesn't try to. When he starts getting a little bit jokey, it gets real cheesy real fast. And so I didn't mind that. And I'd be the first one to call it out if I did.
When he starts joking and howling, that's when you have a problem.
When he's feeling it, that's when everybody needs to take cover.
All right. Well, speaking of things that we ain't feeling, let's go to well, I did want to say one thing about Sting. Key to point out, he's going to be in Battle Bowl, and he's also wrestling Vader, so he's doing double duty that night. I don't know if we've really talked about that. I can't remember if I mentioned
twice the matches, one half the check.
Next match, the first match on the card this week is Shanghai Pierce and Tex Slashinger versus Tom Zink and Johnny Gunn. They've kind of started a mini feud with them. Boy, I got no interest in Gunn and Zink as a team. I got nothing against Slashinger and Pierce, but Gunn and Zink just put me to sleep. But I don't know. You got anything from this?
They start warm or hot. This match looks like two territory wrestlers versus two meatheads from the WWF.
Boy, I thought the same thing. They look like being Zink and Gunn look like two cookie cutter WWF dudes during this era, late 80s, and Slashinger and Pierce look like territory wrestlers, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's actually nothing wrong with either one of them. It's just that Gunn and Zink just don't have no personality.
So, right, I agree. During this match, JR compares the speed of Zink and Gunn to Andre Rison.
He's got to make his Atlanta Falcons references during this era. That's what I hear when I hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in Atlanta, so
I would assume you were not a huge Andre Rison fan.
Oh, not a fan of him. Had a lot of respect for him as a
you cheered when Lisa
player.
when she burned down his house.
Dude, that story is crazy.
Of course it is. When a female burns down your house, it's crazy every time.
I forget the exact story. The reason the house caught on fire, I was watching this, I think it was VH1 on TLC special, and the reason the house caught on fire was that particular tub in the house had been replaced. It had previously been like a porcelain tub, and it got replaced with let's just say a more flammable tub, not on purpose, but like the original tub was replaced for whatever reason with a cheaper one. I don't know if something broke in it. And that's why it ended up blazing the house.
Okay.
Because it was a different tub in that particular room that got set on fire.
Well, speaking of setting the territory on fire, let's get to the finish where we're going to have some humiliation, I guess you could say.
Well, the sleep monster is taking the heat, and they used the bull rope on him as he goes through the ropes on the outside. Here comes the bull rope. Nick Patrick DQs Pearson Schlesinger because Gunn is clothesline with a bull rope, and they leave it just laying in the ring. After the match, they pull a dress out of their bag, Schlesinger and Pierce do, in an attempt to put it on the Sleep Monster. And the Ambient Express member number 2 stops them, and the heels powder out in a very meh match. Remember, the thing was, they were teasing what was in the bag last week. Well, It was a dress.
Okay.
A blue.
That they bought at the feed store, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Can you imagine sending your old lady down to the feed store to get some new threads?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of falls apart when you say it out loud.
Yeah, I don't get it. This is dumb.
Yeah.
It's made worse by the fact that it's Gunn and Zinc.
What's made worse is that all the guys that are booking this stuff love themselves some John Wayne, so they think this Western shit's funny, and they're just making fun of it.
That's a shot at Dusty and Watts I'm hearing right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dress thing was a Mid-South thing with Watts and Cornette. He pulled a dress out of a bag in a promo from what I recall. It may have even been a local promo that I saw. He pulls a dress out and he's like, I'm going to put this on you or something. Or maybe just dumb. It don't make no sense, bruh. Anyway, DQ, we move on. Now we're going to go to Barry Windham. And first, before we go to a promo with Barry, we see a replay of Barry attacking Dustin with his boot. I thought that was a nice little angle, Doc. Did you have any thoughts? I mean, we already talked about it, but thoughts on that?
No, I like it. And Barry is starting to show out, which is always a good thing in my book.
From there, right after we come out of that, now we go to Barry Windham, who's in front of these same lockers we saw at the arena for the Clash, which tells me that they're props. Because what are the odds that Center Stage has the same exact lockers as that particular arena?
We'll find out later.
We already litigated that. Okay. Let's go to Barry Windham, who's with Tony Schiavone backstage.
Watch this.
Okay, and now we're back with Barry Windham, a man who prior to that had already been fined $5,000 for your actions, and now you said you were on a quest to destroy Dustin Rhodes.
Schiavone, what do you think $5,000 means to me? At this point in time, it means nothing. Dustin Rhodes is what I want, but knowing the way that his family is, I doubt that he's got the guts to show up. Now, in this program today, we are going to have it out. So, Dustin Rhodes, if you've got the gumption, if you want to get this thing over with, step into the ring with me and show me what you've got. Because I've been around you for years, and I know exactly what you're made of, and I have my serious doubts about you right now.
All right, that from Barry Windham, and what a great main event it will be as we go back to the ring for our next match. Ladies and gentlemen,
that looked like a door that he was opening up.
He opened that damn locker, dude.
It's the damnedest thing, man.
This is the greatest mystery of our time.
It looks
right up there with the Earth being flat. Are those real lockers? And where are the dinosaurs?
Like I said, don't email Schiavone. He won't remember.
Jeez.
I can't tell, bro. He opened it.
Hey, I like the word gumption is a good Southern word.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Gotta give him credit that gumption. $5,000 fine, but Sting. It's all right for Sting to hit people with 2x4s and get away with it.
Yeah, well,
Right,
you know how that goes.
Yep.
You know how that goes.
Yep.
Booker man gets to make the rules.
That's right. Next match is Marcus Bagwell versus Tommy Angel. Not a very long one. Doc, any thoughts of Tommy Angel from Smoky Mountain Wrestling versus Bagwell?
I thought Bagwell hit a pretty nice fisherman suplex to get the pin, but other than that, there wasn't a lot there.
He did. He does do that move really good. So, and like you said, Bagwell with the, I say perfect plex, but yeah, hits him and 1, 2, 3, and it is over.
There you go.
Yeah, look good. Next match, Too Cold Scorpio versus Mike Thor. Scorpio's out there dancing, and let's just say, I don't know if Larry Zbyszko's a boomer, but Larry Zbyszko doesn't like all that dancing. And he says to JR, What's he doing? And JR says, he's dancing. And Larry says, if that's what you call it. Scorpio doesn't seem like he's a Larry Zbyszko guy.
I guess not. Hey,
He's
look.
so miserable like Harper.
It wasn't dick dancing, but it was slick for sure.
Nah, it's not. Yeah, he's not doing any stripper dancing. It's just he's just got some smooth moves, man. That's all it is to it.
Yeah. Man, I've never noticed this, but Mike Thor's he's got some size.
He looks good. He's a big dude. He's not short. He's got some height on him. I mean, he ain't no Kevin Nash, but
right.
When you look at him, I mean, look how tall he is.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he does have some nice size.
Now let's get to 2130 because holy shit.
Yeah, I got the same thing. So let's go to it. I actually had 2120. So Thor's on the outside. He takes a spill to the outside, and Scorpio takes a running dive over the top rope. And if you're watching on the video version with us, he looked like he was floating for a minute. Watch it again. And you can watch this with us at tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. I mean, that's just athleticism. Or as Ted Turner said on that Clash special, Clash 20, athleticism.
Sure, why not? Hey, did he get talked to by Watts and Dusty after that, though?
For that move?
Yeah.
I don't feel like he did.
Okay. Right,
I mean, they got to see that.
He went a long way, too.
In fairness, like, Scorpio gets treated, in my opinion, pretty well.
Okay.
Like,
I don't know, because I haven't
seen
any of this shit, so I'm just curious. That's all.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, well, any other thoughts as we're about to watch the finish of this thing? Scorpio's going to hit that top move off the top rope, and he pins Thor with ease.
He's made a hell of an impression on his way in the door.
Dude, he's an athlete. Watch this. Boom. Perfect. I mean, he nails it perfectly, too.
Yep.
Just looks great. Okay, well, we'll continue along. We do get a quick promo from Scorpio after his match. I just noted nothing special. It wasn't bad. It just was really quick. Any thoughts?
Would he get in trouble if he came out and asked where the white women were at?
Probably so.
Okay.
Why would he do that, though? Are you just trying to quote Blazing Saddles here or what?
I just think it'd be funny.
Oh, okay.
So, I advocate and cheer for our African American hero wrestlers, just like when I wanted Tammy to have the Gangstas. Go out and piss white people off.
Yeah, Cornette gave New Jack some great directive there. Continuing along, we go to Jim Ross from the Starrcade Control Center. There are several quick promos in this bit. JR does make the announcement that Douglas and Steamboat will put their titles on the line against Pillman and Windham at Starrcade. That's right, Pillman and Windham, not Pillman and Austin. And there's also a quick promo from Steamboat and Douglas where they tell Pillman that Barry is not to be trusted. And I guess you can see why they would say that. And then we're going to get a quick promo from Ron Simmons telling Rude that the Rude Awakening ain't going to get it done against him at Starrcade. Doc, any thoughts on any of these quick promos that we saw here?
I thought it was good when Barry said the media is the one causing all the problems here. Boy, that sounds like something you would hear today.
It really does sound like a 2024 statement.
Barry is all over this episode, and he's great. He's mad. He's angry. I really am digging with his heel turn, and he's making the best use of his time when he's getting the ball. He's getting shots up, and I like it.
Yeah, I agree. Any other thoughts on these quick promos that we see, though?
Now, most of them are very good, and they look silly because they're facing an odd way to, like, they're looking at Ross, but then they turn to talk, and it's just it's weird.
Yeah, they're like facing Jim Ross is to the right, to the right of the television graphic, and he like throws to the interview the subject being interviewed, and the subject being interviewed is like looking at Ross, but not really. They're just looking to their left. They're trying to be cute, and they don't need to be. Is how I always look at this when they do that.
Yeah.
The Starrcade Control Center doesn't bother me like this.
It doesn't bother me. It just they're not doing a lot with it.
Well, Harper gets mad at this at the way they do it, and I don't. I just like, well, whatever. It is what it is, you know. But it's fine. It's just that interview, the way they do that is definitely odd. Well, speaking of odd, Doc, the next match is Van Hammer versus Chris Sullivan. And as Hammer is coming to the ring, he says, "I'm coming, baby. I'm coming to pump up the volume." And I keep thinking to myself, who sees money in this gimmick, hair metal gimmick in 1992?
Seems like a great place that Watts could get a payday by cutting him.
He mustn't be making good money.
He didn't say he was going to pump up the volume. He said he was going to get that bass and that treble and pump up the volume.
Okay.
See, he knows music.
Sure.
Okay.
He might know music.
My other note was get the fuck out of here. So that's what I thought about it.
He might know music. He don't know wrestling gimmicks. I mean, he's got a great look. Like Bobby Blaze said, good dude. This gimmick is just terrible.
Well, and if you believe what Arn said, that didn't help him when he walked in and decided he was going to save the wrestling business.
That is true. I'm here to save the wrestling business. Ain't gonna cut it, brother.
Can you imagine the looks in that room when that was uttered?
Especially when it's said to like an Arn Anderson.
Oh, please say more.
Who's been around since the heyday, like Saturday Night's heyday,
and drawn a dime or two,
and drawn a few dimes or two, and Arn is looking at him. Arn is thinking, "Have you seen the?" Arn's got to be thinking, "Yeah, okay, buddy. If I can't pull these houses up, what are you gonna do?" Oh boy. Well, Hammer wins with the slingshot suplex or the Hammer Rock suplex for the win, and zzz was my thoughts. Doc, any other thoughts from you?
I think you got it all figured out with the zzz.
Yeah. Sleep Monster. He's another one. We got the Ambient Express with Gunn and Zink, and we got Mr. Zzz with Van Hammer.
The Narcoleptic Nightmare.
That's a good one. The Narcoleptic Nightmare. Well, continuing right along, we're now going to go to Vader, Harley Race, and Barry Windham backstage. They're with Teddy Long in front of the fake lockers or real ones. We're not sure. Let's see what they got to say.
We know one thing, that your man is one victory away from becoming the King of Cable winner, but you have to be a little overconfident, Harley, to say that your man is going to go into Starrcade 92, take Sting out, and become the winner of the King of Cable competition.
Well, you can't say that we're overconfident. You saw the Stinger come out with a 2x4 from behind, and it couldn't take this man out. Now ask him what's going to happen. King of Cable, Starrcade 92, brother. No fear. Bring more than your 2x4. Bring it all, Sting. I guess what you heard the rumor. Dustin Rhodes isn't going to be here. I guess he had a personal problem at home. He's not going to be here at all. Dustin, where are you, Pally? Where you at, boy? Where you at? Yeah!
All right.
Dude,
like you said,
Barry's like a cokehead, man. He's just everywhere.
He is popping up everywhere this week. I'm not complaining. It could be worse.
Good thing I like it.
Matter of fact, it is going to be worse when we get to Eric Watts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So go back. Oh, we're going to that. I was going to say.
No. Go ahead.
Go back. Well, it looks. Does Larry and they have a new desk there? And boy, does that thing look awful.
I think I've seen that before, though.
It ain't, man.
I think they're just like shooting it a little lower.
Okay, it looks terrible.
It's like some kind of like prop.
You want to talk about something that would get Harper mad? That desk would get Harper worked up.
To be fair, everything works up Harper now.
Dude, he is aging right before our eyes.
He's like,
he has no cultural touch points because he doesn't have kids. And so the aging process is really accelerating on him.
I think there's something to that. He gets angry real quick.
And he knows it too, because he said something the other day when we were talking. He goes, Brad, I'm like the old man yelling at the clouds. Like, yeah. Yeah.
I forgot what he was telling me this weekend too. He's like, Brad, I see what my dad used to get mad about.
Boy, that's always a frightening realization for any aging man.
The thing is, bro, I feel like when you have kids, you actually have more of a reason to get angry at stuff because they do dumb things, they waste money, they waste stuff like that. That's the type of stuff that will get you angry. He don't even have that, and he's angry.
I know.
Yeah, it's very,
he's disconnected.
Very odd.
Anyway,
yeah.
Well, let's go up close with Rick Rude.
Up close and WCW Up Close. Tony Schiavone's going to interview Rick Rude, Medusa. Here that is.
Our first chance to sit down and talk with the man who is the longest reigning U.S. heavyweight champion in WCW history, Ravishing Rick Rude, along with the first lady of WCW, Medusa. 1 week ago, in a tag team match, scored what many people consider a very controversial win over world heavyweight champion Ron Simmons.
Do you consider a controversial win, Schiavone?
Well, in many respects, yes, I do.
That's because you are just like all the low-life fans out there. Everything Ravishing Rick Rude does is controversial. But the bottom line is, I beat Ron Simmons with the Rude Awakening. 1, 2, 3, right in the middle of the ring. Better a controversial victory than a clean-cut loss.
Okay, fair enough. So now, you and Ron Simmons head up Starrcade 92, Monday, December 28th, for the World Heavyweight title. You are the #1 contender, being U.S. Heavyweight champion.
That's right, Schiavone. And I have been the #1 contender for over 365 miserable mornings. 4 men have come to power in the WCW. 4 men have sat on a throne. 4 men have won the title, and 4 men have lost the title, while Ravishing Rick Rude has sat idle as the #1 contender. Ron Simmons, his name was drawn out of a hat.
It certainly was in Baltimore back on August 2nd. As you approach the match with Ron Simmons, World Heavyweight Champion, you have to realize here's a guy, maybe the greatest physical specimen in WCW. How do you attack an athlete like Ron Simmons? In other words, what's your strategy going into Starrcade?
That would have been a tough question a week ago, Schiavone, because when you analyze Ron Simmons, you have to look at his past opponents and the strategies that he has taken to become world champion. You look at the man, and seemingly he has no physical weaknesses.
That's right.
Seemingly. But you see, that's where the homework comes in handy. Ducey ran into a doctor friend of Ron Simmons. She gave a favor, she got a favor. Show us what you got, Deuce.
What is this?
I have to be honest. Just watch it.
What is this?
You'll love it.
What this is, Schiavone, it's an x-ray of a badly damaged shoulder that Ron Simmons has been trying to hide from the public. Well, it's not secret anymore, Simmons. I know your weakness. I know your strength. And I know that Starrcade 92, I will become the next WCW World Champion by any means necessary. And one more thought. There's a man waiting in the wings who says I owe him a favor. Big Van Vader. You're right, Vader. You did me a favor. I owe you a favor. I'll give you a shot at the title, but it's not going to be my United States title. It'll be the world title.
That's it from Ravishing Rick Rude on WCW Up Close.
I mean, that was great. What did you think?
It was great. Now, what did Medusa have to give to get that information?
Why are you?
It sounded dirty.
I don't think it was.
You need to get your mind right. Get it dirtier, man. Think
Nah,
the
I'm
worst
good.
of things. No, you, dude. He called the fans lowlifes. He was spitting facts. He's like, I've been sitting here as the U.S. title for a year, and I ain't got shit.
The thing that made it so. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to notice. Did you notice that Rick Rude has a wedding ring on?
I didn't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
That seems like something Harper would notice because he notices all the little things.
I got to try to, pitch in since he's not here and, fill in the gaps. Want me to eat some ass later?
Okay. The thing that made this so good was he ain't lying about.
Dude, I loved it. But it's not even that. It's not that he's not even lying. That's great too. But like he just turns to Shivani and puts him on the spot. You think it was controversial?
That's true. Throwing it back at his
just
face.
like he's constantly flexing. Like, okay, big man, you gonna say it to my face, kind of thing.
Well, because he laughs like when Shivani claimed it was a fluke, and he's like, "You think it was a fluke?" He's got good reason to be mad though, because when Rude was champion, U.S. champion, Simmons wasn't, and Simmons got a title shot just because his name was drawn out of a hat. He said his name got
drawn out of a hat, and boy, that feels like something he's still thinking about and mad about, and he ain't forgot. You know how that shit in The Last Dance where Jordan would hear something and it would motivate him and it would fuel him till the next time, and then he would let it loose. That's what that feels like.
Yeah, it's like simmering.
Yeah. And he ain't let go of it.
The hatred is simmering because of that. It was really good up close and personal.
Heel things, the man is keeping him down. He can't catch a break.
So Watts or Dusty, whoever idea this was, good job. Because since we don't like to praise them much, right? It seems lately, especially Watts.
Man, Shivani in that thing though, he looked like he was about to graduate from high school. That get up he had on.
He looks very, very young.
He looks good there with that suit on and the tie. He looks professional, but in the up close, he looked like a child.
Yeah, buddy. Well, speaking of things that don't go well.
Speaking of main event caliber talent that's ready to get the Toot Toot Award for this week because our AI overlords have deemed it so. What do you got for us?
Doc is alluding obviously to the AI section or AI segment earlier with AI Bill Watts when he had some things to say about this segment we're about to watch here. Let's go to Tony Schiavone, who's talking to Eric Watts. Oh boy.
By one of the young lions of World Championship Wrestling, Eric Watts. Tremendous athlete. Eric, I want to talk to you about a match. A challenge was made by U.S. heavyweight champion Ravishing Rick Rude, a challenge you accepted. What were you thinking?
I thought it was a challenge just like any other challenge. I was going to face it head on, Rick Rude or anybody else. On this one, I was jumping from the pan into the fire, but I was ready.
Well, let's take a look at some of the footage.
Right there, I went in a little bit nervous. I went in a little bit tentative. When you go in against someone like Rick Rude, you don't want to be nervous or tentative. And he took advantage of that. You probably saw it in my eyes going out into the ring.
And he's attacking, apparently, attacking every part of the body right here.
Right there, from the arm to the leg. Earlier, he was on the head. And every one of those blows, you could feel from there back to Bixby.
Pound on the back. I mean, this is the first part of the match, and he is, like you said, really on it.
Yeah, I believe he was knocking the nervousness right out of me. I was right here. He hit me in the gut. I'm trying to find myself. I'm trying to find exactly where I'm at.
Okay, later in the match now, you were firing right back on him.
Man, I was firing. I got the nervousness out of me. I felt good right here. Gave him a knee back to the gut like he'd given me earlier. Knocked the breath out of him. Taking his head to it now.
And from there, Eric, you still didn't stop. Right into him.
No, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling real good, and I'm giving him everything I've got. You can see those elbows right to the head. I missed him. He missed me. I said it to you, he's got it again.
Here's where you hooked him, and you almost had him.
Man, I thought I was hooked in tight. 1, 2, but he kicks out. I'm feeling good about myself. Rush in. Boom. Rookie mistake. Call it what you want right there. 1, 2, 3. Rick Rude wins the battle. With Rick Rude, the war's just begun. As you can tell, 3 times, Tony, I came back.
Right after the match.
This is the first one. I have to turn him around. I have to give him a gun.
Okay, I had enough of that. I can't take it anymore. Doc, Watts is obviously giving commentary over a match that he and Rude had on Worldwide. It went on and on. Rude won, and then after the match, they kept fighting, and Rude is actually trying to enjoy the victory when Watts keeps going after him. So Watts is the one who's going after him after the bell.
Seems like a fine.
I guess that's okay.
Yeah. They can talk about
the
it on the
nepotism here is. I'm sorry, what?
He goes, I could feel that felt all the way back to Bixby. Nobody on a national TV program knows what the fuck Bixby, Oklahoma is. I get it. It's a suburb of Tulsa, but nobody had Wikipedia back then. He should have said Tulsa, but he doesn't know what he's doing, so don't expect anything.
Nepotism, man, is something. This dude should have been brought in as a heel, as a spoiled, petulant child that was out to get daddy. I, again, feel bad for him because this is a no-win situation. This is not good. And giving him almost 4 minutes right there, I'm sorry. Unacceptable. And then we go to a match.
Okay.
With him and Fred Avery, in which he's going to win with a crossface. And
then we get to hear from him again.
Oh, bruh. So that was my next thing. I just wanted to make sure you didn't have anything from the match.
No, I have a damn thing. I don't care.
So if a 4-minute promo with him reviewing a match wasn't enough.
Think of all the Hall of Famers and world-class talent we have in this promotion, and we're ramming this shit down people's throats like a fucking frat house on Friday night.
like the Dallas Cowboy ring rat house of the 80s, 90s. So again, after a 4-minute of him giving commentary over match and promo and whatnot, and then we see him wrestle for a few minutes. Oh, now he's going to go talk to Larry Zbyszko. Let's go to that now.
You know, let me say something, Eric, about the STF. Very, very deadly combination. Submission hold, step over toe hold, reverse cross face. You've mastered it well. And for a young man, you need it because you have been under a baptism of fire in WCW with what I think is an unfair bounty.
Thank you for Mr. Zbyszko. I'm happy with how I'm coming along. But let's talk about something real. The Battle Bowl. I want that ring. Just like when we played college, we had the Fiesta Bowl championship. Now it's the Battle Bowl. I can hardly wait till we get it on. Starrcade, it's coming up, and I get to be against all those guys I used to look for.
Well, wait a minute. I'm out here conducting an interview. I want nothing.
Wait a minute, Eric Watts. Boy, I got something of a little interest for you. See, me in Shanghai, we just came into a lot of money. And you know what kind of money that is, boy? That's bounty money. And I've seen a lot of people trying to get that bounty on you, brother. And let me tell you something. When Texans take a bounty, it gets took, brother. That's all I got to say. Well, let me tell you what, Mr. Zbyszko. First, you better check what money that bank's coming from, because I don't think the check's any good. Second of all, you got to be a man to collect the bounty. But most of all, that Texan in Shanglo better make sure they're not on the wrong side of the Red River.
Well, good luck to you. We'll be right back after this.
He was happy with himself with that one.
Bruh, so for people, I mean, I'm sure because of the Oklahoma-Texas game nowadays in football, people kind of know what the Red River is, the Red River rivalry between Oklahoma and Texas, UT and Austin.
I bet JR pulled his pants down and started Jaworskiing over that.
His daddy did too.
Dusty was like, hey, say, baby, what are we doing out here?
And I'm saying it. People knew back then. I mean, I'm acting like people didn't know back then, but I think it's bigger now because of the.
Okay, so maybe don't have him cut promos when he's out of breath, because that's going to make it worse.
No, don't have him cut promos at all.
We almost got. I got you, but we almost got a Horndorf moment there with Zbyszko. Then he's talking about like he used to do at the Fiesta Bowl, which isn't as endearing as it makes it sound, as it makes it seem. That's not the babyface move I want to see. Then I don't know what Tex and Shanghai that was about. So you have money, so you want some more money? What does having money have to do with the bounty? And if you have some money and you're inferring that you got it from collecting the bounty, then what's he doing still standing there? And then to put the cherry on a really stupid cupcake here, they walk off and he just turns around and addresses Zbyszko. Why'd you take your eyes off the guys that just came out and said they were going to collect a bounty on your ass?
I don't have a
Tex and Shanghai were terrible. You know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of when you're at work and everybody out there is probably gonna be like, holy shit. You're at some presentation and they whip up the PowerPoint deck and everybody's like, all right, we got it. And they keep going and they read all the lines on all the charts and you're stuck in this meeting listening to this bullshit. And you're like, we had this shit 10 minutes ago. But they keep going because that's what the script said.
Yeah, I can't add anything to it. That's a hell of a synopsis.
I got mad. I got harpered up there for a second.
Any other thoughts on how bad that was? Because you basically encapsulated it very well.
I think we're finally finished with Watts for the night, which makes me happy and ready to proceed.
We go to Bobby Eaton and Steve Austin with Michael Hayes versus Ricky Steamboat and Shane Douglas, the WCW and NWA World Tag Team Champions. Doc, let me go to you first to see what you might have from this.
First of all, I was angry from the beginning because it was said it was a non-title match.
I think we romanticize things a lot of times, like they didn't do non-title, but they did non-titles a lot even in the 80s. But I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If Stone Cold is in with the franchise, who's calling the match?
If you mean just a singles match or
No. Well, if these two are in together, who's calling the moves?
During this particular match?
Yeah, during this time period.
Well, I'm going to assume Steamboat and Eaton put this thing together.
I got you. Okay, so let's say it was a singles match between Babyface, Douglas, and heel Austin.
I think they're probably both kind of. I think when people hear these old timers say, "Oh well, the veteran usually called it, but the heel, mainly controls it too." I think people get that misunderstood sometimes, as the thinking it's always just one way.
Okay, that's kind of what I was asking and wanting you to explain. Actually,
a lot of times, guys would do it in tandem. I mean, if he's, let's say Austin's healing on Douglas and doing some things, and then Douglas is selling, Douglas might, because back in the day you didn't script everything out. Douglas sees something, he's like, he'll just give him a cue, do me this, shoot me off, give me a blah blah blah, whatever. Like it's not always one or the other. And I think, because I've heard Cornette talk about this before, and I'm like, he's got to be forgetting that it's not always 100% one way. Now, obviously, when you have these guys who are, let's say you had Steamboat in there versus, I don't know, name Eric Watts. Not that would happen, but it's obviously Steamboat. Or you got Austin versus Watts, or Eaton versus Watts, or Arn versus Watts. Oh, yeah, they're 100% calling everything. 100%.
Okay.
It's not even close. You know, Watts, they're reminding Watts the whole time and talking to him constantly, telling him what to do. Constantly. I mean, if you could have mic'd the rings back then for some of those things, I think people would be amazed at how much the veteran, you'd hear them talking to him throughout the match.
Okay.
So
let me tell you this. Here's what I do know. Austin was bumping his ass off in this match.
Yep. They were making Steamboat and Douglas look great. That was my main note.
Well, eventually Rhodes comes out. He shows up. He's there. And he's got the cowboy hat on. He's got a cast on his hand. And I got to believe he needs a fine for this.
Oh, don't hold your breath.
Oh, no, we're not going to uphold the rules?
No. It's not Law and Order when it's the baby faces. It's only Law and Order when it's the heels.
Huh. That's interesting.
Ain't that interesting how that works?
That's... Well,
I mean, he gave Harper a $69,000 fine for not showing up tonight.
But Harper's a babyface. That's where it really doesn't make sense.
It's Bill Watts. He doesn't make sense.
Okay. That's fair.
Any other thoughts on this before we work towards a finish?
What did Arn and Bobby do to Bill Watts?
I don't know, because when you hear...
It seems like those are two of the kind of guys that he would just like embrace and love, and one on his roster.
I don't know, because when you hear Arn tell the story about Watts, he claims Watts told him, like, you guys are two of my most valuable assets.
Yeah.
And Arn's like, then why are you burying us? And I don't know if Arn ever really answered that, or if he even got an answer from Watts. It's the weirdest thing. And it's very obvious when Watts is gone by Arn's promos in like the first couple of weeks. Especially the one where he's like, you ain't got daddy, or your capital's gone now, son. Yeah. I don't know. I can't answer that question for you.
Okay.
All right, on to the finish. Steamboat is going to DDT Austin, and both guys end up being down. Steamboat tags Douglas, who comes in obviously on fire, and he's cooking away. All four guys end up in the ring. Bobby hits Douglas with the Alabama Jam, but Steamboat is going to make the save when
and he stuck that Alabama Jam too.
Yep, we're going to see it in a second. Austin and Steamboat then spill over the top rope, but in the ring, Douglas catches Eaton with the belly-to-belly, and Douglas and Steamboat win. Solid match. It's just the thing that Doc and I keep talking about, which is, what did Arn and Bobby do? I mean, did they personally steal money from Watts?
Because I don't mind Douglas and Steamboat winning, because I like their tag team and I understand what we're doing. It's just, damn.
It's so odd, man. It's so odd. I mean, like, every time we see Bobby Eaton and Arn, they're just buried. It's not even close how bad they are just treated. Treatment is just terrible. And I think they were a couple of highest paid guys maybe at the time, so I don't know. Maybe he was trying to run them off. I don't know.
Yeah,
bro.
when you said that's what popped in my mind. I don't know. It's dumb no matter what, but okay.
Yeah, because you got your main money makers, and this is what you're doing. I don't know, man. It doesn't make sense. I mean, imagine having Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton and your thought process. Okay, let me job them out.
It's like watching the Dallas Cowboys for the last 25 years.
And making matters worse, like Arn jobbing to his son. It's like, come on, man, what are we doing here? All right, Doc. So, any other thoughts on the on that?
So, well, when they come out, dude, did you see Dustin swing that chair?
Well, yeah. So let's. I'm gonna play it now.
Okay.
After the match, we're gonna go to a promo. Yeah, I'm just gonna hit play, and I mean you'll hear who's there and who Jim Ross is talking to. Here it is.
Time remaining, but as we mentioned, Dustin has yet to make it to the arena. Barry, what's going on here?
As anticipated, as what happens always with the Rhodes, they never show when the heat's on. I'll tell you what, Dustin Rhodes, for some reason or another, has decided to be a no-show and is not here tonight. So now here I am, based on, I guess I'm going to have to take it. Oh, here's one of his pals.
Windham, don't you dare talk about my friend like that. That's right. You had everything to do with it. That's right. You had everything to do with it.
I guess Steamboat just clocked Windham. They can find there.
Come on, Steamboat. Come on.
Ricky Steamboat. Well, I don't know if there's a challenge been made or not. Wyndham's got a chair. Well, Steamboat's got a chair. But there's Dustin Rhodes. There's Dustin Rhodes. He's right behind Windham. Oh! Rhodes and Windham. He's going to take Wyndham's head off. No, look at it up here. What a fist fight. This is a fist fight. Rhodes with a cast in his hand. Rhodes is all over Windham. He has gone completely berserk. Rhodes elevates Barry Windham. Dustin Rhodes wants revenge here. That's what he's after. Rhodes with his street clothes on. Oh! Windham is trying to get out of the ring. Here comes Rhodes right after him, and the fist fight continues. Why don't somebody just pull him apart? Fans, we are out of time. We'll report on this tomorrow. So long, everybody.
I just thought of something. This is what's wrong with us. We were raised by baby faces who hit people with foreign objects.
Okay, so I had it wrong. I didn't have I had Rhodes running in the match. I was looking at my notes wrong. Shouldn't he be fined for Watts for being late?
Well, obviously.
Okay.
And then, so my problem too is Windham is cutting a promo talking about, Dustin didn't show up.
Yeah.
And Steamboat approaches him and puts his finger in Barry's face. And Steamboat takes the first shot, punches him in the gut, and then backhands him to the face. And then kicks him on the ground.
That's not very nice.
He's the baby face. What are we doing? You're mad because he's talking about your friend?
Oh.
Who booked this crap?
No, I thought this was great, to be honest. I loved it. It was better than if they got in the ring and had a match tonight. I love this. And man, Dustin swung the shit out of that chair.
Yeah, it's a good thing he missed him.
No shit. He reminded me of Dusty there with that hat on and the jeans and the fire.
It's a John Wayne bullshit, man.
It was good, man. That was a great way to end the show.
Yeah, they did go off the air on fire fighting, so you can't get mad at that. I'm just mad because
you're trying to think about it too much.
The babyface took a cheap shot.
Hey, I got to tell you something that you really need to hear.
What?
This shit isn't real.
Oh, okay. My bad.
You got to stop thinking about it and talking about it like it's so real. That's what gets people offended online is like they want to correct you and let you know that wrestling's not real.
Well, they did go off air on fire, so I guess that was was
good. What else do you want? I mean, shit. You count yourself lucky with what I'm surprised Eric Watts didn't come out there and start pinning everybody.
All right, Doc, before we rate it.
Daddy said sale. Daddy said sale.
Hey, we got a message from AI Jim Ross. One more message before we get out of here and before we rate it and hand out the Toot Toot Rolex and whatnot.
I bet it's putting us all over, right? Okay.
It's almost time to rate this show and hand out the Rolex or Toot Toot Award. Before the fellas do that, don't forget to become a BTT Patreon member by going to tinyurl.com/PatreonBTT. When you sign up, you'll get tons of extra shows. There are 400 plus Patreon shows, including video versions of the main shows, the world-class shows with Lance and Mike, the NWA Legacy cast with Sparks and the Lil Fella Half Pint, and the ECW shows with Mike Prue, Rick Beebe, and JV. Don't sleep on the JV Goon Squad. Those guys are great, too. Additionally, Mike and Doc have covered many episodes of Dark Side of the Ring and Tales from the Territories on Vice. You'll also get reviews of all of the Clash of the Champions specials up until where the guys are currently at, and all of the WCW pay-per-views as well through this current time period. All of that and much more for just a few bucks a month. Don't wait. Sign up now and get all of that sweet extra audio gold from the best damn outlaw mud show podcast on the planet.
All right. Well, we appreciate you, AI Jim Ross. On that note, Doc, let's rate it and hand out our Rolex or Toot Toot Award, whichever it's called now.
I'd feel so much better if that was actually real, but okay. Man, there was good parts of the show. There really were. And I feel like it doesn't, the bad parts don't, we're close to having something here, but we can't as long as we keep booking some of these turds.
Okay, so who gets your Toot Toot Award then?
Toot Toot, or am I rating it?
The Toot Toot first. Remember, we rate it second.
Okay. I really wanted to give it.
It's one of two people for me, but.
Well, and that's going to be Rick Rude or Barry Windham. Yeah. And as much as I wanted to give it to Rude, I'm going to end up giving it to Windham because he's covering a lot of ground here. But either one is a vote for the American way.
I'm going Rick Rude, but I'm like you. You could easily give it to either one of them. You're splitting hairs. The reverse Toot Toot or reverse Rolex definitely goes to Eric Watts.
It has to.
What are you going to rate it? Remember, AI Bill Watts told us at the beginning of the show we better give it an A+.
No, that's not
us out. Okay.
So I'll expect his response next week that I can wipe my ass with. Can you wipe your ass with AI content?
Sir, I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm going to work on that. But this is a tough one because this show was not without its really good parts. Really good parts. But there's so many systemic issues here. I'm struggling here.
I think you're overthinking it. I think
okay, so I'm gonna say it's a because it was an hour and because Windham and Rude shit was great. I'm gonna say a B+.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And my thought process here is I need to start doing this more often. I've tried to do it in the past. I think a lot of times when you watch a show, your immediate response is like to take away just multiple grades because of the Eric Watts stuff, where we see him cut a promo for 4 minutes and then we see a match of his that goes nowhere. And then we see another promo for 2 minutes. And it's like, Jesus Christ, the nepotism here is just stunning. And I think sometimes we'll let that, 12, 13, 14 minutes of TV time just make us hate everything else. When in reality, if you watch the episode, that Eric Watts stuff and maybe Van Hammer is really the only thing bad. So in fairness, because of that, I'm like, well, you really shouldn't be too hard on it. And that said, I go B+ as well. But it's hard because when you see something really bad that just pisses you off, your immediate response is almost always, God, I'm
hell no. That's your immediate response.
Yeah. So I say all that to say I'm going B+ too. Because I think it definitely deserved a B+. And Doc, that just about wraps it up this week for us from December 12th of 1992 as we work closer to Starrcade. Hopefully Harper is back next week when we do this again. I see no reason why he wouldn't be, but hopefully he's back.
Well, yeah, I mean, but we thought he was going to be here this week. So the thing about Harper is you always got to be ready to either play without him or incorporate him into the lineup. And so you just have to kind of stay ready and stay loose and see what happens.
Who's the best football or basketball player that was, in your mind, that was always injured? Great when they were out there, but always injured. Can you think of one?
Well, he just passed away. I would say Bill Walton might have something to say about that.
Was he always injured?
Yeah, he had like severe foot problems and only played like 400 and something games in the NBA.
That's true. That's true. R.I.P. Bill Walton.
Yeah. Hey, he's
okay.
Another one of those guys that apparently doesn't have many detractors, and everybody has nice things to say, and that's pretty rare too. So.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. All right. Well, Doc, I don't really have anything else this particular week. It's been fun covering December 12th of 1992. If you ain't got nothing else, we can get on out of here and you can hit the tagline.
Yeet, yeet, no cap, mid, for real, FR, yeet, yeet, book it, bitch.
Congratulations on making it to the end of this week's show. Don't forget to send your comments about what the guys discussed tonight to Luke Hawks on Facebook and on Twitter or X or whatever the piss they call it now. The rumor is Luke likes answering BTT fan mail. Also, do the guys a solid by liking the show's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages. And don't forget to like and retweet or repost the show on all social media platforms. Lastly, become a BTT patron member where you get tons of extra shows. You can join at tinyurl.com/BTT Patreon. Until next week, so long, everybody.